Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest edition of RE375. We're going to take old stories off the narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called So Helplessly Naive, written by HailMadScience. Ambassador Kale sat in the diplomat's lounge, watching an interesting pairing across the room. Jennifer Rowland, the resident human ambassador at the conclave, was talking to the Batar consul, Ferrell. Ferrell's harsh, growling voice carried throughout the room, though Kale could not make out the words from where he was sitting. So for now, he studied the two creatures. Kale's people, this said, were more than familiar with the humans, and in fact, Kale was personally acquainted with Jennifer Rowland. His people often employed humans to transport their wares across the galaxy, so he had naturally cultivated a close relationship with their representative at the conclave. Friendly was the best way to describe Jennifer Rowland. She thought of and treated almost everyone she encountered as if they had been lifelong friends. She almost always had a human smile across her pale, flat face. Humans, generally speaking, are not wholly unusual creatures in the galaxy. They are, as a race, thoroughly average in nearly all respects. While they may have those who rise above the rest. Most humans wouldn't be of particular interest anywhere in civilized space. Kale shifted his attention away from the human. In contrast to Jennifer Rowland, Ferrell, he only knew by reputation. Though the Batar had often been clients of his people, Kale had yet to engage in personal negotiations with this particular member of the species, for which he was glad, if the rumors were true. Batar were notorious for their high-handed, prideful ways. Physically, they were imposing to many other races, towering almost 8 feet tall on average, and their physiology spoke of a species' history as terrible hunters. Though bipedal, Batar could drop and run fast upon all 4 of their strongly muscled limbs if so inclined. Even with their ursine faces, with their extended jaws full of sharp, meat-eating teeth, and their forward-set eyes hinting at their origins. Ferrell, in particular, was loud, violent, argumentative, and proud, always quick to take offense or offer insult to anyone who displeased him or simply failed to properly please him. None of this fazed Jennifer Rowland, however. As Ferrell stood towering over her barely 5-foot frame, the human simply wore her normal smile and spoke in a normal voice. Kale shook his head. Humans were so very average in almost every way. Unfortunately, as a race, they were so terribly, hopelessly naive. The human race as a whole was unable to understand the subtleties and nuances of many things. Diplomacy in particular was someone beyond them. It was not that the humans did not comprehend such things exactly. For example, humans were capable of deception and lies, but sadly, they just lacked the knack for it. Many of their lies were easily seen through, and so few of them were capable of piercing the lies of other species. Nuances, hidden meanings in words, subtext, all things the humans had failed to master. This led many races to think of them as harmless, though Kale knew this wasn't true. After all, human soldiers were no worse than any other troops in the galaxy, even if they lacked the particular cunning that the greatest military minds exhibited. Beryl stood to his full height now, looming over most of the room. Many of the ambassadors familiar with his ways simply ignored him. But Kale continued to watch the unusual pair. With a wordless snarl that clearly reached even his ears, Beryl left the room in a fury, leaving Jennifer Rowland standing alone, with a confused look on her face. Kale sensed an opportunity. He stood and motioned for the human ambassador to join him. He was pleased that she did so, taking a chair near his with a friendly human smile. Ambassador Kale, it is good to see you this day. Traffic to and from the conclave has been heavy of late, has it not? Small talk. A human custom to fill silence when there was nothing of importance to discuss. The human seemed completely unaffected by a conversation with the Batar. How could she not be aware of the danger that had been so close? Inwardly, Kale smiled. He would have to coax the information from the easily manipulated human then. I had not noticed, Jennifer Rowland. I do not have much time to watch the docking ports these days, but I could not help but notice your interaction with Ambassador Ferrell. He seemed to be in an even less pleasant than normal mood, Cale remarked. The human nodded her head. Cale recognized this as a sign that she was willing to talk about the subject. Gossip, the humans called it. Another strange custom, but one that the Conclave had wholeheartedly embraced. The naive humans seemed unable to keep any secrets to themselves. They were always sharing things, from inane drivel to deeply held secrets, to stories so outlandish they had to have been fabricated just to mock the humans. Jennifer Rowland was no exception, always happily sharing anything she knew with those who knew how to approach her. Cale was one such. Oh yes, it was the strangest thing, you see. Just 2 days ago, I had lunch with the Merle delegate, and we were discussing the best sites to visit in the galaxy. Cale recognized this as another type of small talk, but more importantly, the Merle and Batar were mortal enemies. Having been locked in a standoff for over 1,000 years, with numerous wars and skirmishes between the two species, Cale suppressed a smile of his own. His people were the preeminent weapons manufacturers in the galaxy. There wasn't an army or naval ship of note in known space that didn't carry weapons built by his people. The Batar and the Merle were both good customers. I mentioned to her that it was a shame that the Merle and Batar were always at war, since the Batar do have so many wonderful sights to visit, such as the Grand Palace of the Ohoons or the Crystal Forest of Havlon, Jennifer Rowland continued, content to talk so long as he let her. She said she agreed with me, but then she said that maybe she'd get a chance to see the Grand Palace anyway. When I asked her how, she said that it was very soon the Merle would likely have full access to visit the Grand Palace. Cale considered. The Grand Palace of the Ohoons was on a planet just inside Batar space near the Merle border. No Merle was going to gain access to that planet short of an invasion. I was so excited since obviously that means the Batar and Merle will sign a formal peace treaty and normalize their relations. Cale could not stop himself. The human's words were so absurd, he started to choke on inhaled breath. The Batar was likely to chew their own arms off as sign peace with the Merle. Human naivety never ceased to amaze him. So when I came in and saw Ferrell sitting there, I just had to stop and congratulate him on the impending peace, Jennifer Rowland exclaimed. But he seemed confused, which made him angry, so I explained what the Merle had said, and he just got angry until he finally left. I guess maybe he's one of those types who prefer war to peace. Ferrell was undoubtedly at this very moment in contact with his people's government from his embassy. He would perceive such a statement from the Merle, a casual, matter-of-fact hint of invasion, as an insult to Batar everywhere. The Batar needed little reason to renew the war with the Merle, and Ferrell had an excuse his superiors might just like. If the Merle had intended to invade, those plans would be irrelevant now. The Batar would strike first. That meant war. War was good for business. I'm sure the Ferrell will come to his senses, Jennifer Rowland. Cale lied with ease. Best not to let the humans know she might have accidentally spawned an interstellar war that could see millions die. I must take my leave, however, he continued, as I really do have much business to attend to. Jennifer Rowland smiled at him again. Of course, Ambassador Cale. Have a great day. As Cale walked to his own embassy, he was already deep in thought. His people would need to quietly contact both the Merle and Batar with offers of weapons of all kinds. Even if war didn't break out, both sides would arm just in case they did break out. They'd need to hire more ships, he realized, and Cale laughed. The humans would transport the weapons. They always did so happily. Luckily for the humans, they would manage to profit off the chaos they had inadvertently created. He shook his head. The poor humans were too naive. Truly, Cale pitied them. Humans would never enjoy the finer points of diplomacy. Elsewhere, Jennifer Rowland entered the human embassy and breathed a loud sigh of relief. The embassy trade diplomat waved at her from the desk. I've just received an offer from the Sen. Seems they want to hire almost 200 more ships and crews to carry goods to worlds in and around Batar-Merle border, he said with a broad grin. Jennifer Rowland, at the first real smile of the day, spread across her face. Wonderful! She turned to her communications adjutant at the desk. Send a coded missive to Cell. They should expect to see a decrease in forces along our border with the Batar soon. It'll take a lot of pressure off of us. Jennifer's personal adjutant met her as she entered her office. "Good morning, Ambassador. Dispatch from Sol arrived before you. We're to expect our first spy master to arrive on the next shuttle. In the meantime, our intercepts tell us the Ambassador Farrell had little trouble convincing the Bartar Imperative to prepare a first strike against the Merle. It would seem another war is to break out." Jennifer Rowland sat behind her desk, leaning back in a comfortable chair. These races are all so helplessly naive. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.